This is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. And considering that
For like how long? 100 years?
yes, considering that it's Disney's 100th anniversary, I felt like it would be the perfect time for me to do it. And despite the company's shortcomings right now, you can't argue the impact that this very company has had on America and the world over the course of its 100-year history. Its films and stories are legendary, and these stories have shaped not only America itself, but also the world. In a way, you could say that the story of Disney may as well be the story of modern America, maybe modern first world countries, you know, something like that. But regardless, Disney, if you go to any country in the world, and you might see a little something in the dirt in the on people's backpacks, on their shirts, or various pieces of artworks. You can tell that there is not only Disney characters, but there's also a Disney influence on this art. So
What about tattoos?
exactly. This American institution deserves to get the respect it deserves on its 100th anniversary, and I intend to tell its story over the course of a years-long period, and covering all not only the hits, but also the significant moments in Disney's history. Where would a story like this start off? It's very simple. Go at the beginning. It began with Walt Disney. Walter Elias Disney was born on December the 5th, 1901. He grew up in and around a small town called Marceline, Missouri, and then later moved Yasser.
Is this gonna be long before we even get to like the first essential part of the week? Because I was wondering why you were recording this whole thing.
Yes, I am. I intend to put this on my YouTube channel because I want to. This is something I've been wanting to do for a very long time. But the world was a lot different than it was without Disney. It was a lot different 100 years ago. So you can say that the Roaring '20s was in gear. The World War II had ended. No, World War One. I'm sorry. But I did give you I did look up a book from one of my contacts suggested me, called Walt Disney: The Triumph of the American Imagination. I read through a couple of excerpts of it, and I took a couple of notes. Pity he couldn't be here today because he's traveling. So let's start this off. Walt Disney first had a small career at an art studio in Kansas City, Missouri. And it was at this small art studio that he met Ub Iwerks, insisting that they go into business along with Walt's brother Roy. And I don't think, yeah?
Yeah, what kind of name is Ub?
I don't know. It's just a little nickname that he was coming up with. He was originally called Ub Iwerks or something like that. Multiple W's, multiple B's. But he kind of shortened it just to give it a little more dramatic flair or something like that. Almost as if there was a little in joke coming along, because I think he wanted to have a shorter, more informal name to be called. Because without something like that, but I don't think if Walt and Roy had met Ub Iwerks, this Disney would not have been made possible. So while starting out as an art and cartoonist studio, Walt realized he wasn't getting enough oomph out of the static art and cartoons. So he turned to the then emerging medium of animation. He was actually attracted to it because he was creating slides for animated films at a place called the Kansas City Slide Company, which will later be renamed the Kansas City Film Ad Company to reflect the changing period of how film was really starting to take over. So the first ever Disney animation studio turned out to be a garage sitting on the Disney family's property. Borrowing a camera from the Kansas City Slide Company, Walt and Roy built their first animation camera. And their first venture, Laugh-O-Gram Studios, would take some of the techniques Walt learned from art school and the Kansas City Film Company, as it was now known, and apply them to make contemporary versions of classic fairy tales in 6 to 7 minute shorts. The first animation camera, after they wore the one out from the Kansas City Film Company, was a hardware store purchased Universal camera. And they nearly went out of business attempting to produce a few of these things, but inspired by the Fleischer Studios, they're one of the biggest names of animation at the time, out of the Inkwell shorts, he worked to create a series of Alice in Wonderland shorts, with child actress Virginia Davis being the first ever person to star in a Disney film. Walt did all the animation himself on this short because a lot of his workers left. Walt couldn't last very long in Kansas City, so they went to where all the new action was happening, Hollywood, California. Walt seemed very adept to being a personality in Hollywood. He was like a make-believe kind of person, but he was always that enthusiastic dreamer. Especially he never really gave up on this. So some members of his family were also moving to Hollywood too, so it kind of worked. Using his only reel of Alice's Wonderland, Walt made an effort to convince people that it was a good idea. Alice's Wonderland was the first thing that they really made, and the one that I showed you on that YouTube link. Out of the dozens of letters Walt sent to distributors, only one, Margaret Winkler, the only female film distributor in the country at that time, accepted to see Alice's Wonderland. Walt sent her the print, and she was ecstatic about it. On October 15th, she accepted Disney's Alice short and requested some more to be made. And then the next morning, Walt and Roy gathered together, received a loan from their uncle and relatives, and named their new studio the Disney Brothers. On October the 16th, 1923, Disney Animation was born.
Is that it?
Nope. Walt grew his mustache, which would become iconic of his image, before two of the early animators arrived. And by the time the studio staff was 9, including Roy and Walt, all the animators had grown mustaches. At his brother's wedding, Walt was attracted to the maid of honor, Lillian Bounds. This woman, who started out as an inker at the Disney studio, later became Walt's wife. And then Walt, when they moved their studio over to Hyperion Avenue, it only then officially became the Walt Disney Animation Studio, or Walt Disney Studios. With the success of his Alice shorts, Walt somehow persuaded Ub Iwerks, who was still working at the Kansas City Film Ad Company, and the one that persuaded Walt he could do business himself, to come over to Hollywood and help out with several of his future cartoons. Soon, they were in business. Though Walt obviously saw that some of the cartoon studios of the day, Fleischer, the Felix the Cat people, or other newspaper comic strip cartoons that made it into animation, they had mascots. He had a continually appealing character, Julius the Cat, in some of his Alice in Wonderland shorts, but people called him a knockoff of Felix the Cat. Walt knew that he had to create a different character and saw that there were too many cats on the market. So this was obviously a chance for him to sort of branch out and be different. How do you ever think about this 100-year-old short? It's rudimentary at best, but it's a pretty great start for 100-year-old institution. You know, you always got to start out small.
Well, they definitely did start out small. I mean, yeah, just looking at the animations they were doing. It was just like the simple basic cycles that even we're doing on our par level here at 3-point animation.
Yeah, that's very simplistic. But Walt obviously was being pressured by the distributors of his Alice in shorts just to constantly improve on the animation quality, amp up the gags, get some more oomph into it. There was like the striving perfectionist. He really wanted to really stand out and try to be like some of the New York people or something, or maybe better than the New York people, because back then most of the animation and in the film industry was around New York and the New Jersey area. Walt wanted to break into Hollywood as well. I mean, he thought he could be like a newspaper cartoon strip artist, but somehow it evolved into becoming this animation personality. He was doing all the animation in that garage. Even one commercial recently exclaimed, Walt Disney started in a garage.
Yeah. So anyway, I think many animators, still look back fondly at that early Disney flick. I mean, I think even that, Rich Upson Committee, I think there was a scene similar like that, and like this, like a nod to classic cartoons in one chapter from a mini-series called Over the Garden Wall.
Over the Garden Wall. That is a Cartoon Network miniseries. And yes, I haven't really seen it yet, but I wouldn't mind seeing it.
I thought we were going to be like, expressing opinions and criticism, but we have to relate it to like, the topic of what we're watching itself. That's what we've been doing with the club for the past 2 years.
Well, obviously, I really love what they were able to accomplish without a lot of money. I mean,
computers.
Yeah, they didn't really have a lot of money. $1,500 seemed like a lot of money back then. Yet it doesn't seem like a lot of money to us. I mean, given the rising prices of everything, and this was just one way Walt wanted to express himself. He felt like this was a way for him to escape into that fantasy world, that as if the Alice shorts were kind of a way for him to express that kind of feeling that he wanted to get away from reality for a little bit and then go into the fantasy world that Alice and her cartoon companions experienced on each given short that was produced in the 1920s. So
well, I think the pilot sort's, pretty cute and also pretty easy to follow. I mean, it is something I would recommend to, friends and family and myself.
Yes, it is definitely a pilot, one that would help start out a 100-year-old institution that still continues to this very day, even if they have bumps, ups and downs over the course of their lifespan.
Well, that's what life is like, ups and downs, and sometimes sideways for some reason.
Yeah, because next week is gonna be like Walt thought it was gonna be an up, but then it ended up turning into a down.
Yeah, so, I think we can save the topic for next week. I better get going.
Next week coming up, Walt Disney creates his first cartoon character and then loses him.
Well, can you at least edit this little fun bit here?
Definitely. That's okay just to know. I believe you might know. I'm just giving you a hint as to what's coming next week, because we're going in chronological order.
Yeah, yes, that's what you've been saying that you've been planning to do the whole time. So
Yes,
anyway, I'm ready to sign out. Yeah,
sure.
happy centennial.
Disney
And a happy New Year, too.
Centennial. Happy New Year to you as well. 2023. Let's make this a good one. Okay, bye.
Mhm.